Sham Saradava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Saradava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Praptasya Kalyana Gurnanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Gurnanavasya Vande Guru Shri Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Mahaprabhu ki Gita Vaditra Madhyam Ramanchakam Pasru Taranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringaratanma Niramarjanado Shri Jokta Sabhaktam Sa Neyunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasado Satana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasado Satana Triptan Hari Bhakta Kridvaiva Trupti Bhajato Sadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Shiradikama Davayara Para Madhurya Lila Guna Rupa Namna Shiradika Madhurya Lila Pratikshana Swa Ganalalupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Kanalalupaśya Vande Guru Shri Ne kunjayono ratike visidyai Yayali bheri jukte apekshaneya Ne kunjayono ratike visidyai Yayali bheri jukte Tatrati daksha Oti Balabasa Bande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Sakshad Haritena Samasta Shashre Ruktastatava Dataeva Sadabhi Kintu Pravarja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Tasa Vande Gurashi Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasadam Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Jayam Stuvam Tasya Yasatri Sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Yasatri Sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitina Mine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Samiti Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachata Deshata Rine Gauravani Pachadine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachata Deshata Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Chaitanya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Yo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Hariyaraye Namah Krishna Jadavaye Namah Jadavaye Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopina Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattaraguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Shri Radha, Nila Madhava Radha, Nila Madhava Radhe. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra. Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Prahlad Mara. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Premanande Haribo. Jai Vishnu Paraparamhansa Prabhajakacharya Ashtotara Sarasishya Maharaj Divine Grace Abhay Charavindra Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki ISKCON Pratishta Viviti Samstapakacharya Vaishnava Siramani Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patita Udhara ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Ji Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sat Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji ki jai. Ananta Kuti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. जय परम दयाल श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय. जय प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन एक जनाक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिनंदन श्रीमन गौरांग श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि मावरनाय अवतार की जय. गोलोकेर प्रमधान हरिनाम संकीर्तन जग की जय. जोग धर्म हरि कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय. बृहदांग ट्रांसलेटर बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जय. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपना राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय. श्री ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन मथुर धाम की जय. दिलोश श्री राधा नीला माधव की जय. श्री श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप एक चक्रधाम की जय। परम करुण श्री गौर निताय की जय। श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु सुभद्रादेवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय। जय भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनाशन कृष्ण हरे भगवान की जय। जगंगा माय जमुना माय की जय। तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री मथुरा रानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौरदी प्रमानंदे हरिबो। All glory to the assembly bodies. All glory to the assembly bodies. All glory to the assembly bodies. All glories, all glories, all glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gaurang Hari Bo.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prahlad Lad Daine. Hiranyakashi Purvaksha.
जय
शिरोमणि श्री गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय।
जय श्री वृंदायै तुलसी बाई प्रिय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रदे देवी सतवताय नमो नमः वृंदायै तुलसी बाई प्रिय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रदे देवी सतवताय नमो नमः वृंदायै तुलसी देवाय प्रिय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रदे देवी सतवताय नमो नमः श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की
Namo Nama Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Nama
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namo
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Nama
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namo
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Eya Bilasi
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 Jeto Mara Sharanaloy Tara Vancha Purnahor Kripa Kori Koro Tare Vrindavana Vasi Moraye Ya Vilas Vilas Kunjediova Nayane Sada Jugala Ruparasi Nivedana Taro Sakir Anugata Koro
Nivedana Taro Sakir Anugata Koro
Seva Adhikara Diye Koro Nijadasi Krishna dase koi eye namora ho
Krishna dase
Shri Radha Govinda preme sada ye navasi Radha Govinda preme sada ye nabasi
Radha Govinda preme sada
Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Nama Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Nama Yani kani cha papani Brahma hatyati kani cha Tani tani pranashanti Pradakshina pade pade Yani kani cha papani Brahma hatyati kani cha Tani tani pranashanti Pradakshina pade pade Yani kani cha papani Brahma tati kani cha Tani tani pranashanti Pradakshina pade pade Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrinda Devi Nitagora Haribo, 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 Nitagora Haribo.
Shri Vrindai Purasrivai Priyayai Ke Savasatya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namaha Vrindai Devaya Priyaya Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavattaya Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devaya Priyaya Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavattaya Namaha. Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Oh Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I die before you again and again. Whoever takes shelter of your wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also give me residence like the groves of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision, I will always behold beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a full family. And make me all that servant, very holy and holy servant Krishna praise. May I always sing in love Shri Radha and Govi. Shri Mati Tulasi Maharani Vrindadevi. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Kam Ki Jai. Vedo Dhanam Majanam Bhava Mahada Varni Nirvapanam Shreyatar Vita Vitaranam Vidyavarudhiranam Anandam Viyaranam Sudam Purnam Vidasaranam Sarvanam Param Vijayate Krishna Sanayam Nam Nam Akari Vavinam Vidasarasati Sasaradhikani Varanakara Ekadashi Tavarnaya Pavanam Amati Surkaya Visham Yadinamandara Vinadati Sinchena Sarorati Vishna Amanamaya Kirtanya Sadhati Nathanam 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 Saritam Bhagavati Sadhamaya Mamadam Madhikam Vishwari Avadar Bhakti Ravai Harinam Nathanam Sinkaram Satanamam Samevavam Kirpaya Tapaparam Sadguru Srinam Sinkara Nanam Bhagavadaya Varanam Sadhaya Ulakaya Vishitam Bhutara Savanam Abrahami Vavisati Unayam Vishena Satsaka Vishaikam Unyanakam Sarvam Govindavayayam Ashishavaka Pralam Vinasuma Atatana Varna Tamutaratu Tadthava Vidadatulam Patu Matpranatas Tu Saivanataraha Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Kam Ki Jai. Om Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradaya Krishna Gauri Krishna. Glory to Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years, and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus we have hundreds, millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There is not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself the Lord and strong spirit, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow rather I'm fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? And will my voice choke up? And will the hairs and my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, failing your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one that Krishna is my Lord, and he should remain so, even if his hand is made roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri 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 Kristakam Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord, and they must be avoided. They are as follows. 1. Blasphemy devotees who dedicate a life to propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods, like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, to be equal to and independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are often in Vedas as fruitive activity karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting of holy names, and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive for chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prem. Now let us offer our respectful presents unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls.
Shrimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmad Yasya Yato Devayad Itaratas Chate Swavigyaswarat. Tene Brahma Hidaya Adikavaye Muyanti Atsudayaha. Tejo Varimadam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Trisargomisha. Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi.
Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi.
O my Lord, Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva.
O my Lord, Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva.
O all-pervading personality of God.
O all-pervading personality of
I
God.
offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
I offer my respectful blessings unto you.
I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute
I
truth
meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute
and the primeval cause of all causes.
and the primeval cause of all
of the
causes,
creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested
of the
universes.
creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested
He is
universes.
directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations.
He is directly and indirectly conscious of all
And
manifestations.
he is independent because there's no other cause beyond him.
And he is independent because there's no other cause beyond
It
him.
is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji,
It is she only who first imparted Vedic knowledge into the heart
the
of
original
Brahmaji, the
living
original
being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion,
By him even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion,
as one is bewildered by the illusory representation
as one is bewildered by the illusory representation
of water seen on fire or land seen on
water
water,
seen in the fire of land seen on the water,
only because of him do the material universes,
only because of him do the material universe,
temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature,
temporarily manifested by the reaction of the three modes of
appear
nature,
factual although they are unreal.
appear factual, although they are
I
real.
therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna,
I therefore meditate upon him, Lord
who is eternally existent in a transcendental abode,
which is eternal existence in the transcendental,
which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world.
which is forever free from the illusory representation of the material world.
I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute
I
truth.
meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth.
Dharma projita kaityarocha,
Dharma prajita kaitavutra,
paramo nimatsaranam satam,
paramo nimasharanam satam,
vedyam vastavam atra vastu,
vedyam vastavam astravastu,
sivadam tapa trayongulanam,
shivadam tapo trayomanam,
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamani Krite,
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite,
Kim Vapaya Ishwaraha,
Indra Paririshwaraha,
Satyo Hidi Avarudhitecha,
Sadhi Uruddhya Varidya Titra,
Kriti Bihi Sususubhistakshana.
Prithibhi Shishushu Vistapyana,
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated.
completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially
This
motivated.
Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth,
This Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest
which
truth,
is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart.
which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure
The
in
highest
heart.
truth is reality, distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all.
The highest truth, the reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare
Such
of all.
truth uproots the threefold misery.
Such a truth uproots the threefold
This
misery.
beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in its maturity,
This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled with great sage Vyasadeva's
is
maturity
sufficient in itself for God realization.
is sufficient itself for God's realization.
What is the need of any other scripture?
What is the need with the other
As
scripture?
soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam,
As soon as one attentive and submissive hears the message of Bhagavatam,
by this culture of
by
knowledge,
this culture of
the
knowledge,
Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
the Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
Nigama kalpataro galitam phalam,
Nigama kalpatoro galitam phalam,
sukhamukad amrita dravya samyutam,
Shukamukhar mridatrav sangitam,
pibata Bhagavatam rasam alayam,
Pibata Bhagavatam rasamalayam,
muhur ahoraska bhuvibhavakaha.
Mura Hura Sikabu Vivavuka.
O expert and thoughtful men relish Srimad Bhagavatam,
O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad
the
Bhagavatam.
mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic
The
literature.
mature fruit, the desired tree of Vedic glory.
It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami.
It emanated from the lips of Shishukadev.
Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful,
Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful.
although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all,
Although its nectarian juice was all relishable for all,
including liberated souls.
including liberated souls.
Srimvatam Swakita Krishna,
Shrimvatam Swakata Krishna,
Punya Shravana Kirtana,
Punya Shravana Kirtana,
Hridyanta Stohi Bhadrani,
Vidyantastuhya Bhardani,
Vidunati Suhit Satam.
Vidunati Suritsatam.
To hear about Krishna from Vedic
To
literatures,
hear about Krishna from the Vedic literature,
or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita,
or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad
is itself righteous activity.
It is self-righteous activity.
And for one who hears about Krishna,
One who hears about Krishna,
Lord Krishna who is dwelling in everyone's heart,
Lord Krishna is dwelling within everyone's heart,
acts as a best wishing friend,
acts as the best Krishna
and
friend,
purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of
and
him.
purifies the devotee constantly engaged in hearing him.
Nastapresu abhadresu
Nasta Preshwa Bhadreshu
nityam bhagavata sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Seva
bhagavati uttamasloke
Bhagavati Tamasloke
bhaktir bhavati naistaki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki.
In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental
In this way,
knowledge.
devotee naturally develops dormant transcendental
As he
knowledge.
hears more about Krishna from the
As he
Bhagavatam
hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam
and from the devotees,
and from the devotees,
he becomes fixed in dormant. He becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord.
he becomes fixed in devotional service of the Lord.
Tadarajastamo bhava.
Tadarajastamo bhava.
Kamalobhadayaschaye.
Kamalobhadayaschaye.
Chita itaranavidam.
Chita iternavidam.
Sitam sattve prasidati.
Sitam sattve prasidati.
By development of devotional service,
That devotion service,
one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance.
one becomes free from the mode of passion,
And thus material lust and avarice are diminished.
and thus material lust and avarice are diminished.
Evam prasana manasu.
Evam prasanamanasu.
Bhagavat bhakti yogataha.
Bhagavad Bhakti Yogata.
Bhagavat tattva vijnanam.
Bhagavad Tattva
Mukta
Vijnana.
sangasya jayate.
Mukta Sangha Sajaya.
When these impurities are wiped away,
When his impurities are
the
wiped away,
candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness.
candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness.
Becomes enlivened by devotional service.
Becomes alive with devotional
And
service.
understands the science of God perfectly.
And understands the science of God perfectly.
Vidyate hridaya grantis.
Vidyate Hridaya Granti.
Chidyante sarva samsaya.
Chidyante Sarva Samsaya.
Shiyante chasya karmani.
Chidyante Chasya Karmani.
Usta evat manishware.
Drusta Evad Manishwari.
Thus bhakti yoga severs the hard knot of material affection.
Thus the Bhakti Yoga service a hard note to material
And enables one to come at once to the stage of a samsayam samagram.
and enables one to come at once to the stage where some sham some
Understanding of the supreme absolute truth personality of Godhead.
understanding the supreme absolute true personality of God.
Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness
Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from this world Krishna consciousness
can one understand the science of Krishna.
can one understand the science of
Shri
Krishna.
Guru Vastika prayers. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean mercy, just as a cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it.
The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as the cloud pours water on the forest fire just to extinguish it.
So the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire into existence.
So the spiritual master delivers the material afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is an ocean of auspicious qualities.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is the ocean of auspicious qualities.
Chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments.
Chanting the holy name, dancing next to singing, playing musical
The
instruments.
spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
The spiritual master is also gladdened by the Sankirtan movement, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind.
Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind.
Sometimes his hair stands on end.
Sometimes his body is in him.
He feels quivering in his body,
He feels quivering in his body,
and tears flow from his eyes like waves.
and tears fall from his eyes like
I offer
waves.
my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna.
The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Radha.
He also engages his disciples in such worship.
He also engages disciples in such worship.
They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments,
They dress the gives beautiful clothes and ornaments,
clean their temple,
clean the temple,
and perform other similar worship of the Lord.
and perform other similar worship with the
I
Lord.
offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
Spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzed as that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked.
The spiritual master is offering 4 kinds of delicious food.
When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasada, he is satisfied.
When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasad, he is satisfied.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava.
The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastime of Shri Radhika and Madhava,
And their qualities, names, and forms.
and without the qualities, names, and forms.
The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment.
The spiritual master aspires to relish this at every moment.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert at assisting gopis
The spiritual master is very dear because he's expert in assisting the gopis.
who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs.
With different times make different tasteful arrangement for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs.
Within the groves of Vrindavan,
Within the groves of
I
Vrindavan.
offer my most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
I offer my most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord,
The spiritual master is to be honored as much as Supreme Lord,
because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord.
because he's the most confidential servant of the Lord.
This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities.
This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by the all authorities.
Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance to the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Shri Hare Krishna.
Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Lord of such a spiritual master, who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna.
By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna.
By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receive the benediction of Krishna.
Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement.
Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advance.
Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master.
Remember and praise the spiritual master.
At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisance to the lotus feet of my spiritual master.
At least 3 times a day, I should offer and respectful obeisance unto the Lord, my spiritual master.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, verse number 3. Sarvam hiyatad bhavan veda bhuta bhavya bhavat prabhu
Buddha bhavya bhavat prabhu
karamalakavad vishvam
Paramalakava Visham
vijnanavasitam tava.
Jnanavastitam Tava.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. My dear Father, all this is known to you scientifically, because whatever was created in the past, whatever will be created in the future, or whatever is being created at present, as well as everything within the universe, is within your grip, just like a walnut. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Brahma is the direct creator of the manifested universe and everything within the universe. He therefore knows what happened in the past, what will happen in the future, and what is happening at present. 3 principal items, namely the living being, the phenomenal world, and the controller, are all in continuous action, past, present, and future. And the direct manager is supposed to know everything of such actions and reactions, as one knows about a walnut within the grip of one's palm. The direct manufacturer of a particular thing is supposed to know how he learned the art of manufacturing, where he got the ingredients, how he set it up, and how the products in the manufacturing process are being turned out. But Brahma is because Brahma is the firstborn living being, naturally he's supposed to know everything about creative functions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear Father, all this is known to you scientifically, because whatever was created in the past, whatever will be created in the future, or whatever is being created at present, as well as everything within the universe, is within your grip, just like a walnut. So look up the definition of scientifically. It's the orderly, organized knowledge that's predictable and consistent. But what is this?
In a systematic or methodical manner by means of scientific methods and principles.
Okay. So, this is a big subject because we're talking about the creation of the earth and living entities and population of the whole universe and the creation of the whole universe. So, Brahma is actually the secondary creator. The primary creator is Krishna, who creates the original elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And everything else, or the, he's the source of the Mahatattva, the total material energy. And then Brahma knows how, and then Krishna impregnates living entities into the atmosphere of the material nature, and then Brahma learns how to set it in motion in all the interactions of the, because of the modes of nature, all the interactions of matter, and then creation of the bodies of different species, 8,400,000 species. And then Krishna, when all that is ready, then the living entities are entered, basically wake up from their slumber and reassume roles based on their karma, good or bad karma, or mixed. So this is a very grandiose, complicated thing. Now, when everything is working, that's where yesterday we were very interested in the symmetry of creation and its regulative actions and reactions, which suggests the plan of an intelligent brain behind them, and by genuine inquiry, one may find out the ultimate cause with the help of one who knows them factually. So Narada wants to find out about the ultimate cause and how the material creation has come about, how it's being maintained, and how it will eventually be destroyed. And how, basically he wants to know how it's functioning. So Brahma is going to explain all these things. But if we begin to understand how the material nature came into existence and how it's functioning, and all the different systems that make it self-sustaining and a source of living symptoms in this world, as we go deeper into this subject, then we suddenly understand there has to be a Supreme Personality of Godhead who engineered this whole thing. And he has to be the greatest intelligence that's ever been seen or understood. Okay, so just like there are two ways of looking at a famous painting on canvas. One is noticing all the different nuances of color and light and shade and different sequences of forms, in the painting and so forth. The other way to look at it is, this painting is amazing, and but the person who made it is even more amazing. So there are two ways of looking at that painting. So in the same way, there are two ways of looking at the whole material nature, or the universe. And Prabhupada yesterday said, he says, transcendental knowledge regarding the soul and the supersoul includes knowledge of the phenomenal world and the basis of its creation. So there's a phenomenal world and a numinous world. There's the world that we see, and there's also parts of that world that we don't see. And both of them are real. So just for example, we see the planets and stars and all those things, but we don't see the seven coverings of the universe. But they're there. We don't see the spiritual world, but it's there. So therefore there's phenomenal and numinous. But right now we're concerned only with the phenomenal world and the basis of its creation. In the phenomenal world, three things are factually observed by any intelligent man: the living beings, the manifest world, and the ultimate control over them. Now, of course, the dumbbells are trying to convince us there's no ultimate control, that everything happened by some haphazard process, and it's going on by itself. You know, and the Buddhists also get around the question of God by saying, well, we don't have to worry about who created all this because it's eternal. It's been there forever. So, you know, there's no question of trying to find out if there's a supreme God. Well, these are two bogus approaches, and they're invalid. Okay, so we can observe three things: the living beings, the manifest world, and the ultimate control over them, because everything is functioning in an orderly way. Now, how come it's all functioning in an orderly way? Well, this is explained by scientists, and they've coined the phrase biogeochemical cycles. Biogeochemical cycles. So bio means living, geo means material, dead matter, basically, and chemical means all the different chemicals in the atmosphere and the earth, and these things are going through cycles. Now, what are those cycles? There are four major cycles. There's the water cycle or hydrologic cycle. There is the carbon cycle. There is the nitrogen cycle, and there is the oxygen cycle. These are the four cycles: water cycle, carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, oxygen cycle, that helps to maintain and renew nature. It's self-sustaining, let's say. And at the basis of this cycle is called conservation of energy. In other words, energy, the theory of conservation of energy implies that energy is eternal. It's never, well, if you say it's eternal, it's never created, it's never destroyed. But obviously, it came from somewhere. And then we also know that energy can transform into matter, and matter can go back to energy. And so if we look at things from a point of view of atoms, then there is what's called the Earth system science. That is, that we can see that atoms are, and this is what it means by biogeochemical cycles. There are atoms that sometimes are parts of living entities, and when those living entities die, those same atoms become parts of inert matter. This is very fascinating. Okay, so the atoms themselves are not actually living in the sense, because they can travel from being part of a living system to being part of a dead system, right? So, what is living exactly? Well, it's the jiva and the supersoul. So, due to the jiva, sometimes inert atoms become part of a living system, and they seem to be alive. And then when that living system dwindles and dies, they go back to being part of inert matter. This is all amazing stuff. And then, so these cycles, carbon, nitrogen, water, and the oxygen cycle, renew or maintain nature. And these cycles are going on all the time. So no matter what man does, no matter what contaminations that take place, like a volcano explodes and a huge amount of matter goes into the atmosphere, or all the cars and buses and trains and airplanes are spewing out carbon dioxide and other gases into the air. But yet, nature keeps its balance and renews itself due to these cycles. So, did this happen by accident? It's impossible. This is all what Prabhupada says, the symmetry of nature and its regularity of functioning. So this is a very deep subject, and the symmetry of creation and its regulative actions and reactions suggest the plan of an intelligent brain behind them. So the more you study, whether it's the biogeochemical system, or you study, which means like it's a study of the earth as a whole system. You have forests, you have clouds, you have glaciers, you have volcanoes, you have eroding rocks, and they're all connected. And this is called an earth science system. They're all connected and interconnected, and they depend on each other. So this is a big subject. And also, so many things are happening. We can't go through the whole list of things today, but little by little we will hear about them. For example, there's such a thing as the greenhouse effect. So in other words, life on Earth depends on water in three phases. There's liquid phase, vapor phase, and ice phase. And carbon is the basis of life. So carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is reduced to methane and then eventually to black soot, and produces the greenhouse effect, which makes the Earth habitable, because the Earth's atmosphere and electromagnetic field protect the planet from harmful radiation and allows useful radiation to reach the surface of the Earth to sustain life. And the sun and the moon maintain precise orbital inclination, the precise orbital inclination needed to produce the changing of the seasons. So all these things are going on. And most people are not aware of it. But when you become aware of it, then you know for sure there's an intelligent person behind the whole thing. Because it's impossible for all this to have happened by accident and developed by accident and by combinations and permutations haphazardly or chaotically. See? So the more we study, the more of these processes, these cycles, the more we realize that this whole thing has been set up by a supreme intelligence. Like, for example, the water cycle or the hydrologic cycle. So plants transpire, and there's also the sun evaporates water from the oceans, and these two sources are what make clouds in the sky. Clouds are made of tiny droplets of water, and then eventually there's rainfall, and then there are water bodies and soil moisture. And then, so it's recycling like this all the time. This is called the water cycle. Okay, so this is what Prabhupada refers to as the symmetry of creation and its regulative actions and reactions. So all this suggests that there is a supreme intelligence behind it. So Prabhupada says the intelligent man can see that neither the living entity nor the phenomenal world are creations of chance. No. The symmetry of creation and its regulative actions and reactions suggests the plan of an intelligent brain behind them, and by genuine inquiry one may find out the ultimate cause with the help of one who knows them factually. So, and today, the secondary creator, Brahma, he is like the direct creator of the manifest universe and everything within the manifest universe. So he should know everything about creation. That's why Narada Muni is asking him. He's not asking the local grocer, can you tell me how this all came into existence? No, the grocer doesn't know anything. Can you ask if a speculator, do you know how all this happened? No, he doesn't know. But if you ask Brahma, he can tell you because he actually did it. See? Just like one day this one leader of the movement called up one of our devotees and said, "Oh Prabhu, I heard you are working with Hari Vilasa. Can you tell me exactly how you got this Ananda Mela and these other festivals going?" He said, "Well, you'll have to call him and ask him. He's the one that did it. I just cooperate with him. I don't really know how he did it. I see it, but I don't really know how he did it. You know." Yeah. So Brahma is the person who knows. Right? I don't know. The local grocer doesn't know. The speculative philosophers and scientists don't know. But Brahma knows. So who do you ask? You have to ask Brahma. That's why Srimad Bhagavatam is here. Narada asked Brahma. Now Brahma's going to explain. Right? So, therefore it says, and the direct manager is supposed to know everything of such actions and reactions as one knows about a walnut within the grip of one's palm. That's a really nice example. The direct manufacturer of a particular thing is supposed to know how he learned the art of manufacturing, where he got the ingredients, how he set it up, and how the products in the manufacturing process are being turned out. In other words, mixed together or whatever and producing something. Because Brahma is the firstborn living being, naturally he's supposed to know everything about creative functions. So this is an extremely fascinating subject. And we're going to, and the title of this chapter is The Cause of All Causes. So behind it all is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. But yet, the modern scientists and philosophers reject that. They say it happened by a big bang and over a long period of time, and eventually it was a one-cell amoeba. Well, they jumped to the one-cell amoeba real quick without explaining how it happened. And they don't, and whatever explanation they give, we've seen, is a phony explanation. They don't know. So, and then in this, it says 4 common biochemical cycles explained with diagrams. Well, these are the 4 cycles, the water cycle, the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, and the oxygen cycle. So, the mundane scientists say the producers of an ecosystem take up several basic inorganic nutrients from their non-living environment. Now, wait a minute. Red flag here. Who are the producers of an ecosystem? So they don't say that, but They're right away to jump into it by avoiding the most fundamental question: who is actually the producer of all this? But anyway, these materials, in other words, you have to have materials to create something, or like an ecosystem, right, that's self-sustaining, and in which these four cycles are functioning in a regulative way. So they jumped from the producers of an ecosystem take up several basic inorganic nutrients from their non-living environment. Yes, they're starting with dead matter, right? Matter is dead. It's not a living thing. These materials get transformed into the biomass of the producers. Now, they don't mention who the producers are, right? But we know who it is. It's Brahma. And Brahma got the knowledge from Krishna. And Krishna created the original elements. And now Brahma starts from the point with knowledge how to combine those elements and make what's called the ecosystem. So these materials get transformed into the biomass of the producers. In other words, these dead things, earth, water, fire, air, ether, right, become living things. Then they are utilized by the consumer population and are ultimately returned to the environment with the help of the reducers or decomposers. Okay, so this is a cycle. You begin with dead matter, somehow it becomes living matter by a producer. They don't say who the producer is. And then the living matter eventually dies and goes back to be dead matter. So it's a cycle. This is the way nature functions. And then they say the cyclic exchange of nutrient material between the living organisms and their non-living environment is called biogeochemical cycle. As indicated by the name, the nutrients circulate through life, bio, and through earth, geo, repeatedly in a cycle. The biochemical material or nutrient cycles conserve the limited source of raw materials in the environment. In other words, there's a conservation of energy and matter, and it's never destroyed. Right? It just goes through different phases. Okay, so then they give their, but you see, in order to explain this, they jump very quickly through the most crucial issues of how it came about and who did it, to it's here now, and now we're going to explain what we know about it. So that's why Prabhupada says the scientists are not concerned with the beginning and not concerned with the end. They're only concerned with the middle. Because they don't know what the beginning is, and they don't really know what the end is. They have some ideas. Yeah, there's a producer, and there's a and as they said, there are the reducers, the producers and the reducers. But who they are, you don't know. And how they did it, you don't know. They only deal with what's there, and even their understanding of what's there is incomplete. So this is the dilemma of modern so-called unscientific science. They know that there's there's regulated symmetry and in this world. They see it, but their explanation of it is piecemeal and leaves many, many questions unanswered. Okay, well, we'll stop there and go further tomorrow. Are there any questions? You see, what basically we're doing is we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and then we're comparing it with what the scientists say. And we see that what the scientists say is a bunch of hooey or baloney, as we say in Philadelphia. It's a bunch of hooey or baloney. They're non-explanations. They jump quickly from the most crucial issues to something that they observe, and whatever they are observing is incomplete. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai.